Hi viewers, this is Salahuddin, and today we will talk about the lecture number 30, and this is the part second of the previous lecture, which was 29. And I took a very long break of around less than a month, I think, but it was because of my personal schedule and some other businesses which I could not accommodate it along with maintaining this lecture series, this British history, along with the personal businesses of mine. So today we talked about the agricultural revolution in detail in the previous lecture, and today we will talk about the causes of the agricultural revolution, and this is the second part of that agricultural revolution. In the first part we talked about the agricultural revolution, what was the agricultural revolution, and all other aspects of the agriculture revolution. So we should not go in that detail of the previous topic. So coming to this topic, causes of the agricultural revolution. What were the causes behind agriculture revolution, and how this agriculture revolution revolutionized the Great Britain or England, and what were the impacts of the agriculture revolution on England. This topic is really important from examination point of view, and if you check out the previous papers both in PMS, PCS and CSS, this question is posed many times from many dimensions. What were the impacts of the agriculture revolution, and what were the causes of the agriculture revolution, and how agriculture revolution revolutionized England. So this question can be asked from many dimensions. Therefore, we are breaking the entire question into parts so that we can cover every aspects of the agriculture revolution. In today's topic, we will talk about the causes of the agriculture revolution. What were the causes of the agriculture revolution? The first important point is increase in population. There was increase in population in England. The people living in the cities, people living in the rural areas, the people living in rural areas, they were busy in toiling the land and performing agriculture activities, while people living in the cities, they had no opportunity to remain busy in agriculture activities. Therefore, some great people some people who were wealthy enough, they started migrating to rural areas, and there they started buying land, purchasing land, and thus creating a kind of activity where they could perform agriculture activities. So the increase in population, thus the people migrating to started migrating to rural areas, and increase in population also took place, which where the it was the demand the demand of the food per people could be satisfied. So this increase in population resulted in more agriculture activities, and as a result of more agriculture activities, the agriculture become more plush. So the increase in population was one of the prime reasons behind agriculture revolution in order to meet the demand of the increased population of the people. Second reason was rise in prices. Owing to great demand of food, the prices began to soar up, and the old system where they had no proper agricultural techniques and technologies through which they could produce more agriculture production. The old system was not in a position to meet the demand of the people, while this rise in price due to increase in population resulted in agriculture revolution. The demand of the food was increasing because the population was increasing, and the people would have no other alternative where they could earn or to make their pocket full of money. So they had to divert toward agriculture, where they could earn enough money and pull their pockets. Thus, this increase in demand pushed people toward agriculture activities for satisfying the need or satiating the needs of the people. So this rise in price was the second important factor in agriculture revolution. The third is a decline of cottage industry. And in the cottage industry, which was a local industry or indigenous industry, and the cloth worn by hands began to be considered inferior to that made through machines. So decline of cottage industry was another factor which resulted or promoted agriculture in England. By cottage industry, they would produce less, and on the other hand, the people also started assuming the things made through mechanical way inferior to that farmed or produced through machines. So thus the machine occupied the place of cottage industry, and the decline resulted while the cottage industry pushed toward a decline. Thus the agriculture revolution become prominent due to the decline of the cottage industry. Uh, Another important reason was decline of the cottage industry was people. One was the factor where the people started considering the product produced as a result of mechanical way inferior to that of agriculture, to that product farmed through a machine. So this was the one factor. And another factor in the decline of the cottage industry was the people started migrating to other places where they could earn or remain busy in agriculture activities. And technological development also uh, uh, discouraged the cottage industry. And the fourth important reason in the agriculture revolution was root crop method or of Sir Robert Weston. A book, Discourse on Husbandry, contained materials about land fertility and maintain root crops, and that was followed by people. Sir Robert Winston wrote a book which was a discourse on husbandry. In this book, he talked about all the important informations and all about the techniques related to agriculture, where the root crops, the root crops method can be adjusted, and how the root of the products or of those crops can be maintained healthy and to adjust to the environment, which can produce a very huge amount of production. So this book of Sir Robert Winston, Discourse on Husbandry, was really of great significance, and people started following this book, and the instruction he given in this book was almost followed by every single farmer there in England. So this root crop method of Sir Robert Winston was another important factor in the agrarian revolution. And he also talked about how the fertility of the soil can be maintained, and how the roots of the crop can be maintained healthy, and which can produce a good amount of production. Fifth important cause was wheat drill of Jethro Tull. And he was another person who invented a machine to sow seeds, while earlier they would sow the seed mechanically. He said that the soil between two plants must be maintained soft and sticky, so that they could produce a very good amount of production. And wheat drill up Jethro Tull. This was a machine through which the crops can be sowed, or through which the seed can be sowed. And through this machine, they could perform enough function in a very less time. And secondly, this method of Jethro Tull, he also said that the soil between two plants must be maintained soft and sticky, or wet, so that they could produce a good amount of production. So this method of Jethro Tull was another reason behind agrarian revolution in England. And sixth important factor behind agriculture revolution was four-folded method of Township. As we talked in the previous lectures, that Township was he remained Prime Minister of Great Britain, but in 1730 he disclosed that chapter of politics and started working on agriculture. And he stressed that the four rotation of crops need to be maintained if someone wants a good production of crops. And that four crops rotation, he said that in the first year one crop need to be harvested, while in the second year another crop needs to be harvested or sowed, and thus there could be a kind of cycle among all those four crops, which can maintain the fertility of the soil, and as well as the production of those crops can also be of enough amount which can fulfill the demand of the people. And he also said that at the fourth year, like 1 year, if a peasant sowed the wheat, the other year maize, in the third year barley, while the alternate fourth year, the peasant needs to sow the turnips, are those which where which can have a kind of root which results in the fertility of the soil. And turnip is one of all those crops which aids to the fertility of the soil. So he said that at the fourth year turnips needs to be sowed, so that the fertility of the soil can be maintained or increased. Seventh important reason behind the agricultural revolution was the Robert Blackwell's and Collins method of cattle breeding. So a new breed of sheep, new Leicesters, was produced as a result of this method, cattle breeding, and wool and meating was also become in abundance due to breeding these healthy animals, sheep and new Leicesters. And he also produced kind of new ox, which were stronger than the earlier one as a result of this cattle breeding and cross breeding of new generations. So this cattle breeding method of Robert Blackwell also resulted in agriculture revolution. Agriculture revolution cannot be only confined to the crops. It also includes the dairy products and the livestock stocks also. So the eighth important cause behind agriculture revolution was Sir Arthur Young's effort to improve agriculture. Sir Arthur Young's efforts to improve agriculture, what was his efforts? In 1709, started publishing a magazine, Annals of Husbandry. This magazine talked about the techniques about agriculture, and to acquaint peasants with new schemes and methods of agriculture, he's published this magazine, Annals of Husbandry. He is also known as prophet of new agriculture. because he gave further more new methods of agriculture and invented new ways of agriculture. And he was also of the opinion that erection of fences needs to be done so that the crops or the production of the crops may not get suffer as a result of making way or grazing animals or straying animal into the fields without which are without enclosures. And and later on, while he was of the opinion that enclosures needs to be erected around the fields, which can be protected from animals and making ways in the fields. And later on this enclosure or fences, an act was passed which was called Enclosure Act, where the fields need to be protected from both people and animals. So this was the contribution of Sir Arthur's efforts to improve agriculture. And ninth is George III's farm at Windsor. Uh, George III, as we talked in the previous lecture, he was a king at that time, whose reign starts from till 1760. He had a farm at Windsor, where he adopted new methods of farming or new methods of agriculture. And people of England, out of love, called him George the Farmer, and he patronized the new methods of agriculture. And it was the time in England where adjusting or modifying or adopting a new method of agriculture was really a kind of great challenge for the common people, rather for landlords and the elite class. While what the elite class, they were the fashion the trender and the passion or the trend, they were the trend setters they were. So George himself started new methods of agriculture. So on, the people also started practicing those new methods of agriculture, which were talked about in the annals of husbandry as well as in the discourse on husbandry, and all other important techniques talked by some prominent figures that we talked about, who were of the opinion that these new methods can really help the agriculture production. So this is all about the causes of the agriculture revolution. So let's recap it or talk about those causes only and once, so that if you want to note all those important causes, and you can. So the first reason was increase in population. Second is rise in prices, food prices. Third is decline of cottage industry that we talked about. Root crop method of Sir Robert Western. And fifth is wheat drill of Jethro Tull. And sixth is four-folded method of Township, where different crop rotation could take place. And seventh is Robert Blackwell's and Collins method of cattle breeding. New cattle breed was produced. Eighth is Sir Arthur's young effort to improve agriculture, who published a magazine, Annals of Husbandry, where he talked about the important techniques about agriculture. And the ninth is George III's farm at Windsor, while George III, who was the king, he was also working as a farm at his own farm, and he had a farm where he adopted new methods of agriculture, and later on the people also started adopting to those new method and techniques of agriculture through which they could produce or increase the fertility of the soil as well as the amount of the crop production. So this is all about the causes of the agriculture revolution, and if there is any question regarding this topic, you must ask in the comment section. So thank you so much for watching the video.